week, we talked about this statement that we always make. There is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. Honestly, I spent the whole time talking about the first half of this statement, which is, when we say there's a power for good, how do we know it's good? How can we know that it's good? Today, and I'm sure I convinced you all. If you missed it, you can go and watch it on YouTube, because I won't repeat it all. But today, I'm going to talk about the second half, which is that we can use it. Now, we actually talk about how to use this power for good every Sunday. So today, I'm asking a slightly different question, which is, should we use it? We can use it, but should we? It's a decision that we all make. Yes, I want to use it wholeheartedly. Yes, I want to use it a little bit. Or, I'm curious, I'm interested. I like the philosophy. I like it from an intellectual standpoint, but I'm fine. I don't really need to worry about the rest of it. I don't like to be told what to do. I just wanted to do it my own way. So that's my question. Should we use it? Should we use this power? The founder of our organization, ErnestHolmes, said that our study of the science of mind is actually a study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes. The power back of creation, the thing itself. So last week we talked a little bit about taking a scientific approach to our teaching. Actually go ahead and test these ideas. Test the spiritual tools. See if they work. Test them more than once. Do a test 10 times. See if it works 80% of the time, and then look at if it didn't. Examine your own emotions, your own beliefs, and see if you can come up with any obstacles. And that kind of is what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. But the other thing I just wanted to remind everyone or bring up is that, and this is very fundamental, universal principles, the use, is available to everyone equally. Spirit, life, does not play favorites, no matter how it seems. It doesn't play favorites any more than an oven is going to bake one person's cake better than another person's cake. I'm thinking of Jessica, who told me she was baking a cake for us. So. In the same way, ErnestHolmes explained that the answer to the question, why are some people healed through prayer while others are not, is that it depends on the belief and willingness of the person making the prayer or doing the spiritual mind treatment. Spirit is always responsive to our thoughts, whatever they may be. And that actually is one reason why we do treatment and prayer for each other. Because when we're bogged down by negative thinking or crisis, or we're not feeling well, it's difficult for us to know the truth. But, if I ask someone else, like Jan, to do a treatment for me, she's not involved. It's easy for her to know my truth. So we do treatment for ourselves, And then when we need it, we ask other people to do prayer treatment for us. But here's the thing. And so I know a lot of us have been in this teaching for a long time, others of us are newer. But sometimes I believe there's a little hesitancy to actually use spiritual principles and practices to change your life. Just like sometimes you might have a little hesitancy to accept help. Or sometimes if someone says, oh, I'll pick up the check for lunch, you might go, oh no, I can do it myself, right? We do that sometimes. So is it okay to use this power? Is it okay to use prayer and principles? Is it actually worth the time and effort? Because it does take some application. Well, you have to ask yourself, maybe some of us have to ask ourselves, especially when we're feeling down, do we deserve more? Do we deserve to have more of whatever it is we wish? So, of course, you already know I'm going to say yes, yes, yes. Of course you do. You're wonderful. You're amazing individualizations of spirit. Obviously, we're going to encourage you to do it. That's why we're here today. And yet, at the same time, I know in my own life, it isn't always easy to accept good, especially when things don't seem good. Because let's face it, life is complicated. And I know that most of you have been able to sort out the things in your life to a very great degree so that you are experiencing things unfolding in a pretty good way most of the time. I know that you are already pretty clear about the difference between positive and negative thinking, and already understand to a great degree how it is that positive thinking can influence and create positive tendencies in our lives. But the thing is, we know it intellectually, but we also need to stay alert to our unconscious thoughts, because they are also influencing the tendencies in our lives, just like our conscious thoughts do. Just like our thoughts when we're just totally overwhelmed do, or when we're having a mood like anger or extreme grief. These are feelings. These are maybe passing through our mind. They're not our normal thoughts, but they do have an effect. Although usually our unconscious thoughts do not have as great an effect on us as our conscious thoughts. That's why when we have a thought, an idea that we want to see in our lives, we will use affirmations and treatments and follow up our treatments with more affirmations to keep it in our consciousness that this good is unfolding for us. Now, I think you already know, because often in our classes we ask a person to look at their past. Look at your upbringing. What did your parents teach you? What kind of a community did you grow up in? What kind of words did you hear? So some people might have heard money is the root of all evil. Other people might have heard doctors are the root of all evil. Another person might have heard singing or dancing is the root of all. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of ideas that we hear as we're growing up, and we all have different backgrounds, so that's not going to be uniform. And when we look at them, when we bring them up out of our unconscious, we can examine them and say, I'm ready to get rid of that one. I really, really like this one. You know, I like this idea that, you know, if I behave in a kind-hearted way, things are gonna be good for me in my life. If I know how to get along with people, other people are going to like me. And we learned a lot of very good lessons. You know, there was that book, Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, or something like that, right? I mean, there's a lot of good things that we learned, but there are also some problematic beliefs that we may have been taught. But there's something else at work besides our childhoods or our parents or our families, and that is our greater culture. And we call that, you know, we can refer to it as our cultural conditioning. ErnestHolmes called it race consciousness, meaning the consciousness of the human race. Recently, somebody said to me how much their life had changed since the recession. I guess I was older than him. I said, which one? Oh, well. You know, it's not just our experiences of personal hardship, but some of these ideas, certainly ideas about the Great Depression, ideas from World War I, a lot of these hardships are maybe not even being spoken or verbalized anymore. They're just lodged in our culture. They're deeply lodged in our culture. You know, ideas like, you really have to be careful, there might be another depression coming around any day. Those are not something that we really talk about that much. But when a financial challenge arises, they're in the back, cementing it, furthering it, going like, yeah, I told you so. You know, this may not have happened to you, but it could happen. Or the idea that when you get old, you get sick. That is just kind of cultural conditioning. You know, I know a lot of people who might admit that they're old, they're quite healthy, and who have health challenges and then recover. Amazing recoveries. We see them every week. There are many ideas that can be absorbed by our unconscious mind. Now, how do we know what to believe? There's so much. You know, there are so many ideas that could be or have already been absorbed by our unconscious mind. And truthfully, a lot of them are discouraging ideas or confusing ideas. So I think it's wonderful that we can rely on wonderful teachers and philosophers and mystics for some guidance. Or can we? Should we? How do we know who or what to rely on for guidance anyway? So, going way back to my college days, I was studying a little philosophy, and I was quite interested in existentialism. You know, looking at existence. You could define existentialism as the human search for meaning in a meaningless universe. It made perfect sense to me when I was very young. It seemed so much was going on, and it just seemed like it didn't make sense. It just seemed like the deck was stacked against so many people. So back then, in a little bit like now, but differently, it was also a time of a lot of protests and demonstrations and general shenanigans and a lot of uncertainty. So when I try to, explain what do I mean by this philosophy of existentialism, think about movies like Rebel Without a Cause, or The Graduate, or Easy Rider, or recently, if you like science fiction, which I do, think about the Matrix series of movies. These movies portray people trying to make some kind of progress in a world that simply makes no sense. Not unlike earlier existentialist books like The Trial by Franz Kafka, where it was just impossible to get a fair trial or even move through the system, or his book, The Castle. You just can't get from here to there, no matter how hard you try. So in a way, I think that isn't all that different than the stories that you may have in your family. I have some in my family of people who lost everything in the Great Depression, no matter how hard they worked, or people who had money in a bank account and the bank failed. They didn't do it, they didn't really cause it, but they were affected by it. And these things left fresh scars at the time, which gradually became part of the cultural backdrop in which we all live in here and now, giving us, I would call it, an unconscious legacy of fear and doubt. So, to me, it's no wonder that the existentialist movement, this kind of despairing movement, started in the mid-1800s in America and in Europe. And it really took hold in the time of World War I and II, because people do have a need to find explanations for what is happening around them. And yet, here's the thing, at that very same time, there was another movement that was also taking hold in our culture. Totally different philosophy. It's our philosophy, our new thought philosophy. Today it's easy for us to take for granted the idea that it's a good idea to think positively. Today it's easy, especially in this area, to go to a yoga class or find a meditation retreat, or just even go online and sign up for a meditation app. We take it for granted, and yet that was not always the case. Today, with our modern spiritual thinking, many people take the idea that we are one with this thing that we call life, or the thing itself, or God, that we are one. We take it for granted. But looking back, when the American Civil War was over and during the Victorian Age, there was a great sense of mourning and loss. And for many, when they heard about the ideas of a power for good, when they heard about the idea of the possibility of spiritual healing, these ideas were welcomed with open hearts and minds. And so it's interesting to me what I see as the two extremes of thinking about the underpinnings of what's going on in life arose about the same time, after the Industrial Revolution. And the other thing that is interesting to me is that both of these philosophies agree. They both embodied the idea that people, individuals, were responsible for their own decisions and actions. The difference is, the more negative point of view is, yeah, decide all you want, you ought to do it, but it's not really gonna get you where you want to go. Compared to our philosophy, which is not only can you decide what you want, but everything depends on your decisions. This belief system is so important to your life. And the reason why I wanted to go into that today, because I don't really think we talk about existentialism and New Thought usually, but I just feel like without even realizing it, we might be carrying some of this baggage of feeling powerless or feeling unworthy that was one of the ideas that was in our culture. And nobody really talks about it anymore. I mean, I don't know about you, but I haven't heard anyone talk about having an existential crisis for a very long time. It's not in our vernacular, it's not in our day-to-day thinking, but that doesn't mean it's not in our unconscious ideas about life. So, when you think about the question, should I be using the power of good? Make sure you're not being held back by unconscious doubts. Doubts that don't even belong to you, that never had anything to do with you. Don't allow those doubts that are not yours influence your thinking. So one of my favorite New Thought books is The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker, and I think everyone should read it often. And usually if you're familiar with it, I know when I read it, if I'm feeling sad, I'll skip to the chapter on Decide to be Happy. If I'm feeling like I have money problems, I'll skip to the chapter on Decide to be Rich. If I, so I use it like that. But today I just wanted to share the first paragraph from the whole book. On page 1, he wrote, "The individual's," that's you and me, "ability to act unintelligently in a universe of intelligence is amazing. Unintelligence functioning in human consciousness produces wrong decisions. As a result of these wrong decisions, people limit themselves with sickness, financial strain, family quarrels, frustration, all of which are actually unnecessary. The power to make right decisions is yours. And there are methods for creating a healthy mind that will stop making erroneous decisions." Barker explained, like we do, but in a little different way, using different words. He said, "The manifest universe is the continuous operation of a first cause, which he called mind. Not it is caused by it, it is its continuous operation." And then he said, "We, you and I, are also a continuous operation of this first cause as mind in conscious action." This is how he defined a human being. A human being is a continuous operation of universal mind. He said there's one mind, one cause, one God, one intelligence, and we simply individualize this. We are given the totality of mind for our use and for our use as the distribution of its ideas into form. See, what we believe is that when we are thinking, when we are using our mind, we are simultaneously using the only mind there is, which is universal mind. That thing itself, now I think of it as beingness, not as a being, not as an entity, but as that infinite, eternal, and impersonal intelligence. Mind in conscious action. ErnestHolmes said in the Science of Mind text that everything we see, plants, animal, man, every visible thing, is a manifestation of God, differing only in degree. And every manifestation, everything contains in essence the whole, in the same way as one drop of ocean water is as perfect as the entire body of water. He always explained, of course, that we're not God. I don't get to walk around and say, I'm God. But the reality, the essence within me is God. So that is the reason why we can use spiritual principles like treatment or affirmative prayer or affirmation, visualization, meditation, and have actual results or demonstrations, actual changes in our lives or in certain conditions of our lives. And when requested, and we can also help others through prayer see changes in the conditions in their lives also. The reason why we can use the power for good, the power of universal mind itself, is because we are some part of it. We live as it, and it lives as us. Do you find that this is believable or unbelievable? Is there some hesitation on your part? You know, Dr. Barker challenged people to say this aloud. I am pure intelligence, always acting intelligently. So let's say that together. I am pure intelligence, always acting intelligently. How does that feel? Does it feel like the truth?
No.
Yeah, right. It's like, whoa, really? Is that really true? Did it make you feel silly or like, that can't be me? I mean, if your mind is unconsciously reacting with a no, that is a clue that you have a little work to do. And that's why we do spiritual practices. That's why we're always learning more, moving more, step by step, increasing our faith so that we can understand that universal mind and what it creates are one and the same. So that we can understand why it is that we believe, Jesus said, I and my Father are one. Not two, one. The drop of water in the ocean and the ocean are one thing. Not two separate things. One thing. But if this is true, then shouldn't we all be involved in the manifestation of healings? Like the stories that are told about Jesus. Well, I can tell you, people in the center are. We are. We're very involved in demonstrations and healings. We see them constantly. Amazing. And yet, I'm pretty sure that, because I know myself, that sometimes sometimes I don't ask anyone to do a treatment for me when I can't do it myself. So I imagine that's probably true for you also. It's so easy to just sit and stew and say, well, This is my responsibility. I made the decision. I made my bed. I've got to lie in it. No, let's get up, right? Take your bed and walk. This is really what we believe, and this is what we want to achieve. Barker wrote that worry, fear, disease, argument, frustration are not our normal heritage. They are actually abnormal. Just like war is abnormal and peace is a normal. Or just like if you see water that is polluted, that doesn't mean it's the normal state of water. It's passing. It's transitory. It is an unwanted condition. The fact that within us is there this amazing, ongoing, ever-present desire for good to unfold. We just have it in us. You know, you look at a child and you see it, that they just want to get up and run, learn to walk, do all these things. But we also can see it in each other, that we are always an expression. And while we may see problems all around us, well, yes, it's true. I know for me, and probably for you, you might have made a mistake or two in your life. You might have been hurt by other people or by their actions. But what we need to understand that we are not the problem. We are the ones who can see the problem, who can activate new ideas to solve the problem. That's what Barker said in his introduction to The Power of Decision. You know, he said, don't stand still in a state of fear. Be willing to make new decisions. So this is my advice. When you experience feelings of discontent, pay attention. When you start thinking that, you know, things are just unfolding and you don't like it, just stop. Give yourself permission to discard old unwanted ideas. Give yourself permission to forgive yourself. Give yourself permission to even let go of resentments against those who harmed you. Start seeing yourself, because in a way it's all about you, right? We only can really control ourselves. Start seeing yourself as you really are and set yourself free. Give yourself permission to make new decisions, permission to try something new, permission to take a leap forward. Give yourself permission to follow your own dreams. Happiness, health, prosperity, peace, wisdom, beauty, creativity, friendship, loving relationships. These are all aspects that we have within us, because these are all what we call aspects of the divine, and we are one with the divine. All of these wonderful things are waiting to be discovered and expressed by you, because it's not just true, like you knew I would say, that yes, we should use the power for good, but we should use it wisely and well. We should learn to use it more effectively and live a life that allows more and more goodness to flow into our own lives. And as it does, it naturally flows out into the world. So when you say yes to your good, you are also saying yes to spirit. Yes, I am a part of the unfolding of good in this beautiful world. And what I know is thinkers change the world. And so it is. Thank you.
And on that note, knowing that God is all there is, and that there is only one mind, one creative intelligence, and that one lives within each one of us. I know that I am highly favored and highly blessed because I am one with the one. And so knowing this truth, we're one with the one. We're walking the ground on which we tread is holy ground. Let's leave here today knowing that the coffers are full and running over, knowing that good is available for us, in us, and all around us. And that as we go through the following week, we realize that good. We live the ground on which we walk is holy ground. So right here and right now, I turn it all over to Divine Spirit, knowing this truth. And please join me in affirming, and so it is.